Hello and welcome to your North Node shifting into Aries and South Node shifting into Libra horoscope video for the year of 2023. This is an exciting, expansive, opportunity-rich time for us as a collective, as well as us on an individual basis. And today we're going to talk through where the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra will be falling in your birth chart and how that might be having an impact upon your life and the life areas that this will be activating for you. So we're going to do things a bit different today, and I'm going to try and share my screen and share the charts of the nodal shift just to give you astrology enthusiasts a little bit more information to look at. And anybody new to astrology, don't be put off by the visual astrology when you first look at the mathematics of it and the technicalities of it. It can look a bit overwhelming with all the symbols and glyphs and numbers. But I promise you it's nothing to be intimidated by. If it feels too much, just ignore the visuals. But for those of you that feel like you might want to just tiptoe a little bit into the technicalities of astrology, I'll be talking in the background still anyway, and you should still be able to see me in the little bit of the screen away from the charts. So I'm going to try and share my screen. This is when it just goes nuts and starts going like down this deep vortex of sharing screens. Right, sharing a screen. And so this is the chart of, let's hide this, the chart of when the North Node, which is this symbol here, shifts into the sign of Aries for the first time since December 2004. And the South Node, which isn't generally displayed on charts because it's always exactly opposite the North Node. So we draw a straight line across from the North Node across the center of the chart over here, and we find that the South Node will be in Libra. And interesting to note, you may notice that it's a bit strange. You're thinking, okay, you might be thinking the North Node's at 29 degrees Aries and 59 minutes. And it's like, surely that's at the end of its journey. But the nodes always travel backwards. So they start their journey in a sign at the higher degrees and move all the way back down to the lesser degrees. So if we skip back a little bit and see that the North Node is in Taurus at 5:50 p.m. UK time, so adjust for your location on the planet to get the correct time of the shift. But in the UK, this will be happening, this nodal shift will be happening between 5:50 and 5:55. That's as close as I've gotten my time range, and I think that's fine personally. And so you can see here that as the node was shifting from Taurus, the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, you can see that North Node in Taurus was at 0,000 degrees. So at the very first degrees of the sign of Taurus and the very first degrees of the sign of Scorpio, at the very end of their nodal journey. And so this is kind of curious, but it's just one of those like astrology good things. So let me go back to 5:55 p.m. UK time, and the node has shifted into Aries, and it's going to be here until, I've pulled up another chart here. Let me just double check the information. 2025, and this is the one where I did actually spend the time getting the exact time, so less than 5 minutes difference at 11:03 p.m. UK time on the 11th of January 2025. The North Node is here. Oh, this looks slightly different than the one that I pulled up on my Astro Gold. So bear with me. It's going to be this way. So this will be when the shift is taking place in about 18 months' time. Okay, that is actually quite different. That's frustrating. So I pulled this up on the app on my phone, and I sometimes find that there's like a couple of minutes difference with these. Anyway, yep, so this is going to be when the North Node is shifting. Still knows. Okay, let's just go back to the other chart because anyway, it's going to be around about the 11th of January 2025. So let's go back because we're not here to talk about that shift really so much today as the shift that we are experiencing right now. So 12th of July, a couple of weeks from today, I'm recording this on the 27th of June. And what does it all mean? That's what we're all here for, right? So the North Node shifting into Aries is all about this collective direction of, we call mundane astrology, the astrology of world events and things that are happening out there, and then horoscopic astrology and natal astrology, birth chart astrology is what's happening to us as individuals. And so in terms of the mundane astrology, the North Node represents the collective experiences that we're all traversing at this time. And with the North Node in Aries, this is a masculine fire sign. This is a very active energy for the next 18 months, following on from the 12th of July this year. This is very creative, highly charged, doing, active. So Aries is also a cardinal fire sign. And this is about coming at life from a place of spirit and action and soul. So I love this idea of the fire signs being all about the soul energy and that pure passion that lives within us that we don't think about. We just respond and react to our environment and to external energies, as well as the energies surrounding us. And so the North Node in Aries is highly creative. It can be aggressive. It can be quick to lose interest. So when we come at life from an Aries perspective, as we might be doing more so during the North Node in Aries, we are acting before thinking about it. We are jumping into a new creative project without planning ahead, which is a really nice change from North Node in Taurus, which has been very steady, very grounded, very fixed. So Taurus being fixed earth and Aries being cardinal fire. And you may notice as well when I was talking about the degrees, obviously because we're starting at the higher degrees of the signs and working downwards, the nodes move backwards in their zodiacal order. So we're going from Taurus to Aries. So we're going from the second sign of the zodiac to the very first sign of the zodiac in the very beginning. And then when we hit 2025, the North Node will be shifting into Pisces, which is the completion cycles. And this will be a highly interesting spiritual time. But right now, these next 18 months are all about action. We may find that in global events, this equates to more aggressive energies, like I said. So watching for countries coming into, coming into conflict with one another, because Aries can be quite a conflicting energy. But like I said earlier, it's quick to act and then it fizzles out. So, imagine dropping a lit cigarette into a puddle, it's like, suddenly it's gone. Whereas before that lit cigarette. So a really bad analogy. I shouldn't be talking about cigarettes really, but it was just the image that came up. And so with this, we think back to what was happening in terms of personal astrology. All of those archetypes will be informing our daily lives in terms of where we feel that we're moving in our natal charts. Which house is Aries in, which house is Libra in, what areas of life are being activated for us at this time, where we're being highly creative, possibly acting before we think, possibly slightly aggressive, quick to anger, but also quick to come back down from that. And Aries is so joyful. It's all about the joy of life, the pure joy. The sun is exalted in Aries. So this is a very solar energy. It's a very yin energy, because all of the masculine signs are very yin energy. So this, just to quickly talk about that, masculine isn't really anything to do with gender. It is much more to do with the outward expression of things, whereas sorry, that's yang, isn't it? And then yin energy is the very inward, more sublunary feeling hemisphere of things. So yang signs like Aries are very out there in the world, very solar, ruled by the sun. Well, ruled by Mars, but exalted. The sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, so it has this very solar quality as well. And it's just about this pure bright light, like, look at me, here I am. Let's enjoy this creative time together. Let's create, let's have passionate exchanges with one another. Let's interact. Let's just really enjoy our inner child's coming out and just having fun. There is also very head energy connected to Aries. Aries rules the head. So we might be thinking that there might be things taking place in the mundane astrology, the global astrology, to do with developments with anything to do with our heads. Instantly, I'm getting this idea of the AI with Pluto. Pluto's in Capricorn at the beginning of this nodal change, but it will be moving into Aquarius, in and out of Aquarius over the next year, and then it will be finishing up and staying in the sign of Aquarius for the second half of this nodal energy. And Pluto in Aquarius is very much connected to AI and the way that technology is going to bring about riches. And so I'm instantly thinking of computers inside our heads. I think of those like Google glasses, which I don't really know if they ever took off. Maybe I'm just like living in a cave and I don't pay attention to the world news. But do you remember they brought out those Google glasses? And they had computer screens on them, and you could kind of interact with your computer as well as spend time in your daily life. I mean, not very safe if you're going to be driving a car, but possibly all right if you're just kind of wandering around your house. But I still feel like I would like trip over things if I had a computer screen here, but there was also stuff going on around here. But perhaps a lot more development in terms of things, creative things that will be connected to the head and technology. And then thinking about the South Node in Libra. Actually, final point to say about the North Node is that the North Node in ancient astrology, they talk about the North Node as having this sense of, it's a very fated energy. So ancient astrologers believe the nodes to give you that slightly fuzzy feeling in your tummy, because it's not necessarily good or bad, but it's just very fated. And it's like the nodes of destiny, the nodes of karma. And the idea with ancient astrology is the North Node has this energy of increase. So wherever it's touching, it has this energy of increase. And it will be the North Node here is close to Chiron. And there will be a conjunction between the North Node and Chiron during this nodal transit over the years of 2023, 24, 25. And so there can be some collective healing taking place in terms of possibly war topics, anything to do with children. I'm getting this idea of all the pandemic children, all the pandemic babies getting to this point in their lives. I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about this. Getting to this point in their lives where they're now coming out into society, and those children will be starting school, and this healing journey of what it would have been like to have been born outside of a pandemic and not having all of these restrictions and this solitude around them, and actually them going out into school life, or this social world, and being very going through this healing social process and allowing to be children in this very social way, and children being this very healing energy for the collective as well. So I feel like the collective will be learning a lot from our children, as well as our children going through a lot of this of healing at the same time. And so then looking at the South Node in Libra, like I said, it's not shown on the chart, but it's always exactly opposite. So when the North Node is in Aries at 29:59, the South Node will be in Libra at 29:59 of Libra. And so the South Node in ancient astrology has this energy of diminishment. It takes away because it removes. It's this energy of where we have been and what we're moving away from. And it's much more comfortable. We recognize the South Node and we're familiar with it, as opposed to the North Node, which is kind of like catapulting us into the future. So without further ado, let's jump into horoscopes for this nodal shift. Just checking that all of my Settings are in the right place. Recording on 2 devices in case we lose the video again. Okay, so let's see if I can get the charts up. If not, then we will just crack on without them. It looks like I'm going to have trouble doing that. So let's just do the horoscopes. Okay, Aries rising. North Node in Aries will be moving into your first house of self and vitality and psychology and the physical body. And the South Node in Libra will be moving into your 7th house of partnerships, one-to-one relationships. This can be marriage partners. This can be business partnerships. This can be close friendships. Your confidant, your close confidant, the area of life through which you learn via somebody else, and you don't necessarily recognize those pieces of yourself, and therefore you recognize and learn lessons via the interaction between yourself and somebody else. And so with the North Node having this increasing energy, and the North Node being in Aries in your first house, this is really a time about you as opposed to the other. This is less a time of partnerships and more a time of yourself and celebrating yourself, your creativity, your bright shining light. Aries is the baby of the zodiac, the very first sign. It has that supercharged energy to get things going, to try things out, fearless kind of attitude to life. And I really like this in terms of taking care of your body, listening to what it's telling you, getting into some sort of new fun regime, maybe joining an exercise class, joining a fun like team game, something that's really fun, that ignites the fire within you, ignites your passion and your soul, and really listening to what your body's telling you. And you can see this as a rebirth moment, having moved from that 2nd house nodal you've had since Taurus and Scorpio have been the nodes. Now you're moving into this 1st house, and the 2nd house is much more about that serious, boring, can be boring, just that getting quite serious about finances and self-finances and where you earn your own money. And then that South Node in your 8th house being very kind of reliant on other people's resources to financially support you, but kind of moving away from that over the last 18 months. And now you're moving into this 1st house nodal shift. It's really time to celebrate you and really take your own sense of fun and creativity seriously. Taurus rising, this nodal shift will be taking in your 12th and your 6th house. And so the North Node in the 12th house is asking you to go within. The 12th house is quite a lunar house in many ways, in that it's asking us to be reflective and to feel inner energies and to connect more with spiritual energies around us. This often will take place when we have time to stop and think, have a little bit more alone time. Sometimes when the nodes are in our 12th house, we can find that our life path is slightly more directed towards spending time alone and finding ourselves slightly isolated from the social scene. Having done a lot of work in the 1st house over the last 18 months with the eclipses, with the nodes in Taurus, and that's knocking things off the table in Taurus and Scorpio. Having spent a lot of time on you, now there's more time to kind of feel into the energetics of of the universe at large, and feeling kind of what parts of those energetics fit with you and which parts don't fit with you. The 12th house can sometimes bring up the idea of not feeling so vitally enforced. So sometimes energy levels can be a little bit lower, sleep can be a little bit tricky. So just paying attention to these areas of your life. And then in the 6th house, the South Node in Libra is asking you to, another important thing to say about the 12th house, actually, just recapping slightly, is that the 12th house asks us to have faith and believe in things that we can't quite see, whereas the 6th house is very focused on what is in my practical real world that I can affect and have a change upon, have an impact upon. The 6th house is daily routines, it's health, it can be work colleagues, it can be employees if you run your own company, and the energy really here is asking you to move away from the finer details in the 6th house and your relationship with work, and take much more time on committing to your inner spiritual journey, that that you're traversing at this time. In the next 18 months, it will possibly bring around teachers into your experience in a very psychic way. So psychic teachers, teachers that work with energies and emotions and empathy as well. The 12th house is a very empathic place, lots of energies flying around. So it's important as we traverse the eclipses over the next 18 months that you're paying attention to teachers that are coming and going from your life. Gemini rising, the North Node and South Node into Aries and Libra will be taking place. North Node in Aries in your 11th house, South Node in Libra in your 5th house. And so the North Node in Aries increasing anything to do with groups. The 11th house is known as the joy of Jupiter. This is a really beneficial house where friends can really help out in a seemingly not particularly effortful way. People can just turn up and be like, hey, you know, I met you at the library, or I met you at the knitting group, and I noticed that you're into this thing, and here's a thing to help network, and here's a new customer, or here's a new contact for you to kind of share in this experience with other people, and for your skills to be recognized within a group, or your personality to be recognized within a group and being allowed to shine, possibly in quite a creative group as well. So like knitting group would work really well here, like I was saying, somewhere where there's color and creativity and excitement and starting of new projects. And you could be very inspiring to other people as well as to yourself right now. The South Node in the 5th house is kind of lessening energies around romance, children, and the kind of creativity that we might be doing on a solo basis. This is much more like, I want to be out there being creative with other people. I don't want to be kind of in my own world of doing creative things. And so lessening the energy in the 5th house, moving away from perhaps your children are growing up now and you're more able to not ignore them, but have a little bit more time back for yourself, where you can go out and socialize once a week. You can go and be a part of a club once a month, something like this. And the children are happy to be left with another caregiver, and they don't need your full time and attention, you know, for a couple of hours a week, for example. This is where the issue happened the other day. Sorry, something just popped up on my screen. Okay, Cancer rising, North Node in Aries will be in your 10th house, right at the top of the chart, and South Node in Libra will be in your 4th house, right at the bottom of the chart. So very kind of, 10th house is very out there in the world, very public. 4th house is very under the horizon, very private. And so North Node in Aries in the 10th house is asking us to really celebrate anything to do with work right now, any creative projects that you've been wanting to get off the ground. With the North Node in Aries in your 10th house, this is bringing in chance meetings with people that can help support you in these creative projects, help support you in getting you seen and recognized out there in the world. And this is like natural cheerleaders in your life, and people that are just naturally enthusiastic and passionate and want to support you. So pay attention to eclipse times, which would be kind of April, May, and September, October time of the next 18 months. And thinking about that 4th house and that lessening quality, perhaps it's time to be thinking less about the home environment, and a kind of decrease in energy around family karma and ancestors and that kind of tribal lineage, because this is kind of time where the increase in energy is you out there in the world, and it's less to do with, or there will be a kind of the thing that will kind of drain your energy is when you're connecting with any kind of ancestral karma that hasn't yet been resolved, those kinds of things. Anything to do with the physical structures of the home, paying attention to the bricks and mortar that are surrounding you. If you live in a brick and mortar home, if you live in a caravan or something like that, then it'd be paying attention to the tin that makes the caravan. Making sure that any renovation work that needs doing or any kind of fixing that needs doing around the home is taken care of. That will be important during this nodal shift. Leo risings, North Node in Aries will be in your 9th house, South Node in Libra will be in your 3rd house. So North Node in the 9th house is really increasing energy around your idea of learning, of philosophy, of teachers. This is perhaps going back to school, doing a new class. Perhaps it's teaching yourself. You are out there in the world teaching. Very good for a Leo rising who likes to be on show and likes to be, illuminate a room for other people, because your light as a Leo rising ruled by the sun helps lift everybody else and helps put a spotlight on everybody else as well as yourself. So it's like your light is infectious at this time, and you're able to naturally draw in those people who are really interested in the learning if you're wanting to teach, or you're naturally attracting teachers to you as a student who wants to learn, but something in the kind of higher octaves of learning. So some big expansive subject like philosophy or religion or spirituality, less so about the kind of fact gathering learning that might be involved in something like, I don't know, training to be a nurse or something like that, that requires a lot of stats and facts. This is much more fire the arrow, go off on the adventure, enjoy the journey. Don't worry so much about the destination at the end of it, because the magic comes from going through the journey itself. And the South Node is in your 3rd house. So the South Node having that decreasing energy of leaving behind the details, worry less about the details. This can have a weakening effect around relationships with siblings and cousins, so paying attention to that. This can also have a weakening effect around home environment and living environment. So this is a bit more like your local neighborhood as opposed to the 4th house, which is the structures around us as a living environment. This is your neighborhood, your neighbors, paying attention to your relationship with neighbors. Have they run their course? Are old neighbors moving away and new neighbors coming in? Something along these lines. Virgo rising, North Node in Aries will be in your 8th house. South Node in Libra will be in your 2nd house. So North Node in your 8th house, this is very connected to an increase in energy around any topics that are slightly taboo, slightly subterranean. We're thinking about things like sex, birth, death, transformation, renovation, and other people's resources and inheritance. And so financially, this is activating the financial axis for you, the 8th house and the 2nd house. 8th house, other people's resources, 2nd house, your own resources. So an increase in other people's resources and having that energetic support from other people, and a decrease in the idea of worrying about earning your own finances, or your idea of self-worth not necessarily being connected with your own energetics, but other people. So the 8th house is other people, known as other people's esteem, and this can be where other people kind of, hold you up on high, and resources can naturally come to you because other people simply like you and want to support you and show that they support you, and that you have some kind of value to them in their lives. So this can be really close friends, this can be family members, this can be romantic partners, these kinds of things. Libra rising, North Node in Aries in your 7th house, South Node in Libra in your 1st. So North Node Aries in the 7th house is very connected to creative projects within partnerships. Possibly the focus is on your partner for the next 18 months and less on the self, especially as we've got the South Node in Libra having this kind of decreasing energy in the 1st house. Be aware of your own energy levels, listen to your body, listen to any kind of aches and pains that might be coming up. Worth getting them checked out when the South Node is in your 1st house, because this is like this is old ailments coming back in, and just needing to be, paid attention to at this time. Pay attention to those eclipse months as well, sort of April, May, September, October time. And a real increase in creativity and passion and excitement and fun with your partner, fun with your romantic partner, fun in one-to-one relationships, fun in business partnerships as well. It's going to be a real time to just kind of enjoy your daily routines and how you kind of create things with your business partner. This can also be a place where you're really learning a lot from somebody else, from an outside source, as opposed to North Node in your 1st house, like it is for Aries. This is really a time for you to focus on what information is coming in via somebody else, and what can you be learning from them that can really add value to the way that you live your life. Okay, Scorpio rising, North Node in your 6th house, South Node in your 12th. So North Node in your 6th house is really asking you to take your daily routines and your health seriously. This is increasing an energy around the things that we have to do every day. Perhaps this is getting up and going to work, doing the 9 to 5, because we know that ultimately if we can kind of commit to these daily routines, or perhaps it's, you know, perhaps you don't work, perhaps you're retired, and this is relating to your daily health needs, taking the pills that you need to take every day, or doing the yoga you need to do every day, spending time in the garden, perhaps doing some form of hot, energy rich physical exercise would be really positive for a Scorpio rising right now. Really emphasizing that Martian energy that needs an outlet of some kind. Otherwise, these things can kind of manifest as being more angry and more quick to kind of outburst. And this can be meeting people, especially around the eclipse times, where these people can come and go from our lives who are super supportive to our health needs and benefits. So perhaps meeting a herbalist, or, you know, suddenly you're friends with a doctor and they can kind of help you with your heart issues or your foot trouble or your neck pain, something like this. And then that decreasing energy in the 12th house can be a bit of a power outage. So paying attention to energy levels at this time. Like I say, I think the best thing here to do is to feed that Mars energy, that real need to act, to be, and this is really like, you know, what's a really aggressive form of sport? Maybe like roller derby, for example, where it's like, it's a full contact sport. So you can really let some of that energy out so that it's not kind of manifesting within us. And when we expel more energy, we get better sleep. And so that can help support that South Node in the 12th house, which can be, like I said, a bit of a power outage, and moving away from the spiritual side of life and just focusing on the physical, the material here and now for the next 18 months to really support the body. Sagittarius rising, North Node in your 5th house, South Node in your 9th. So North Node in the 5th house is really asking us to take our own creativity seriously. What lights you up, what helps excite you on a regular basis, the creative things you like to do. Is it writing, drawing, painting, making cakes, whatever it is? Or is it, you know, a martial arts class, you know, attending Tai Chi, is that considered a martial art? I don't know. Karate, something like that. But Tai Chi is still highly energetic and quite Aries-like in that sense that there's a lot of heat within the body, and the Tai Chi is helping to move around the small amounts that I know about Tai Chi. So an increase in that 5th house, and an increase in relationships with children, and you know, perhaps this could be a transit that would bring about pregnancies, if that's something you're after. Jupiter also gets involved in these kinds of any kind of pregnancy related things, but I could see, you know, this is a chance to increase the fertility around the 5th house. South Node in the 9th house, letting go of anything to do with spirituality, wisdom, teachers, becoming your own teacher, children becoming your teacher, creativity becoming your teacher, as opposed to this adventure seeking and the wanderer, that wanderer energy that is eternally seeking to find the answer to life, the universe, and everything. There's going to be a lessening within that energy, which for Sag rising is a very natural place to be anyway, because it's that very Jupiter ruled wanderer energy, and it's much more in the soul and the creativity of the here and now, and the passion that lies within life, the passion that you have the access to during this next 18 months. Capricorn rising, North Node in Aries in your 4th house, South Node in your 10th. So North Node in your 4th house is creative projects around the physical structures within the home. It's also looking at Any family karma, family history, especially to do with the father, around perhaps anger issues, working through any energetics to do with Martian things. So where there may have been traumas in the past, and anything to do with anger, hot, heated, sharp, cutting experiences within the fourth house. Perhaps this, you're just really interested in tracking your family tree, and you're looking back through family members that were part of a war effort in previous centuries. That would be another signification of North Node and Aries in the fourth house. And then moving away from the 10th house, so letting go of things to do with public reputation and work. This is a much more home spending time, much more time to be with your roots and to be with your tribe and connecting there instead of focusing on your career. A lessening of the career, so that you can fortify that family and home environment. Aquarius rising, North Node in your third house and South Node in your ninth house. So North Node in your third house is increasing this idea of study, this natural curiosity, anything to do with siblings, cousins, early childhood education. And, perhaps you're becoming a teacher and you're going to be working in a primary school, for example, and then moving away from that ninth house. So the teacher analogy is quite nice here because, perhaps you've been at university and you've been studying your degree to become a teacher in that ninth house, very higher learning, philosophical education, teachers. And you're moving away from that because now you've got the degree and the energy is lessening in that area of life and increasing in this area of life where you're activating the daily experience of what it is to be a teacher and gathering the facts, like that NQT year, that newly qualified teacher year of like still gathering in all the resources and learning all the things and proving that you've managed to teach this class and do that class. And I've never done that training, but I know people that have, so I know like tiny amounts about it, but I'm sorry if I've got that all wrong. But that kind of thing, that's what I know vaguely about that area of teaching. This is also an increase around living environment, neighbors. Perhaps you've become really good friends with your neighbors and you want to spend more time going running with your neighbor next door, and it's like a really nice new hobby you can take up. The third house, hair in my mouth, is joy of the moon, and so we think of anything that's connected with the moon to be to do with the body as well. So paying attention to what your body needs and really getting that, I'm thinking of like A-level science now, cardiac, like the respiratory system, is it? That's the breathing system. That's not what I mean. But, the system in the body that becomes energized and kicks in when we are out doing exercise and we're oxygenating the blood within our bodies, and really using heat to kind of get things going. Maybe that you're like taking up a hot yoga class, or you're getting far more into saunas, and a sauna has just popped up in your local neighborhood and you spend more time in a sauna. And a decrease in that kind of ninth house of spirituality and kind of daydreaming, wandering, and more of a focus on the here and now. Pisces rising, North Node in your second house, South Node in your eighth. So North Node in the second house, increasing your ability to earn your own finances, increase your own material resources, and not being afraid to kind of try new things and get out there in the world. Perhaps you're an entrepreneur and you want to set up some new businesses. This is a really exciting time for that, especially with Saturn in your first house as well, where you're really adding structure to your physical daily routine and your outlook on life, and you're taking yourself very seriously at this time. That gives a little bit of longevity to that otherwise quite what's the word, quick to action, but also quick to finish, Aries energy, which doesn't really like to finish anything, quick in but then like onto something else. So Saturn in your first house kind of just gives you that extra bit of longevity which might be needed to kind of really get a new business off the ground. Anything to do with self-worth as well, looking at yourself, what is it that you like to put into your body? Do you like hot spicy foods? Maybe this is a time to be really increasing that fire energy within you. I know very, very little about Ayurveda, but I heard a great podcast recently. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately, but we're just talking about putting spicy things in your body if you want to increase the hot energy, and putting cooler things into your body if you want to decrease that spicy hot energy. And so I would imagine this would be an increase in likes and flavors around hot spicy things, and a decrease in the 8th house, which is other people's resources, and letting go of other people's potentially financial support, definitely because it's the South Node in Libra, so that's also the sign of the other, and possibly romantic partners' financial support, and a weakening within that area. Perhaps your partner has to take a pay cut at work and can't fully cover their financial offering within your relationship, and therefore you have to up your own personal income earning abilities. I'm getting tired now. What's the final sign? Sorry, Pisces. We should start with Pisces next time, just so you get the full energy of the horoscope. So yeah, a lessening in that 8th house and an increase in the self. And just thinking about that 8th house being other people's esteem and the value that they find within you, and their kind of natural support towards that, it's kind of like you don't need that at that time. At this time, you can let go of that because you've got all of this fire energy within your own self, and you are able to give your own self that natural sense of self-confidence. So a real increase in self-confidence at this time. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back again soon for some more horoscopes. And I should probably just mention a couple of things about the things that I'm up to right now. I'm available for one-to-one readings if you head to my website, which is freyjaastrology.com. You send me an email, which is midheaven moonrise. That's MIDHEAVEN, moonrise, all one word, @gmail.com if you want to get in touch on a one-to-one basis. I'm always up for a chat, so just get in touch. I'm very active on Instagram, still sharing lots of things. I've got a very exciting project that's coming up later on this year, which will not be revealed yet, but in the kind of the lesser months of the year, as we're kind of building up towards Christmas, there's some really exciting stuff that I cannot wait to share with you, so stay tuned for that. And hoping to do the next Mind Body Spirit Festival at St Andrew's Hall in Norwich in September, and that's the first weekend in September, Saturday and Sunday, 10 till 4 both days. Great event, loved the last one, can't wait to do this one. I've been doing some teaching of small classes, between 3 and 5 people within a class, where we get together either in person or online and spend a few hours together discussing how to track your own transits for the next 12 months, how to forecast your year ahead. So if that's something you're interested in, send me a message and we can set up a date to do that. In person is really exciting, but I appreciate that many of you are across the world, and so online is also really exciting. We just need to add a bit more technical structure around that, but that's fine, and it makes it much more accessible to everybody else. So that's a course not available on my website yet, but if you get in touch with me, we can discuss the details further. Also really good for things like hen do's and parties and any other kind of group event where you just want to really get stuck into your own astrology for the year ahead, but you want to be like enhancing your own ability to teach yourself astrology. It's like I'm just there to kind of help enable the learning process and kind of send you on your way fully armed and prepared to be able to kind of look at this stuff for yourself and perhaps your friends and family as well. So now I think I'm finished. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll speak again soon. Bye.